Well, hello there, listeners, and a big shout to everyone who has just started their run. As always, well done for showing up today. Eddie and I are sitting here in a nice air-conditioned room. There is a heat wave hitting Southern California right now. So to everyone that has showed up to do their run in the heat today, extra large kudo for you. For those of you that are on the treadmill, we know a lot of people are running before the sun comes up and after work. Some of you are at the gym. Regardless of where it is that you are getting your run in, we're very happy that we get to join you today. So well done. Hello to our youth listeners. We love that you are here. If you're watching us on YouTube, we're waving at you, and we hope that your new school year is getting off to a great start. And then just a special shout to people that say, hey, I was listening to this while I was mowing the lawn, while I was knitting, while I was driving home, doing the dishes, cooking, laying flooring. We love coming along with you. So welcome. Eddie and I have just traveled back again from Arizona. Now, I think I attempted to start adding up how many times we've stepped onto a plane this past summer, and I think I lost count. And my body is feeling it, Ed.
Yeah, well,
I am tired of traveling.
When your daughter moves out of state, I don't think the traveling is going to stop anytime soon. I think it's going to pick up. So we just have to get used to it.
Well, maybe my after this next attempt that I'm going to be doing here in a couple weeks, I think I'm just going to create a route where I run from my front door to Mackenzie's dorm door.
How many miles is that? I bet you could do it.
Door to door.
Let's do it.
You don't think I already looked that up?
What is it? What's the mileage?
I did look it up one time, what that route would be. I mean, on one hand, it is doable, but there is a very long stretch, several hundred miles, where you are just out in the middle of nowhere.
I should know this right now, but I'm going to Google it.
Are you?
Yeah.
I don't know where I could regain sources. So then I was like, well, Eddie would just be crewing me the whole time. So that would be pretty fun, though. Yeah, I'll just run to you, sweetie.
I'm game for that. That would actually be kind of fun.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You think? What if it was like a 12-day excursion?
12 days? I mean, if you get to see Mackenzie at the end of those 12, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, hold on. I'm almost there.
All right.
I just want to get a roundabout number.
Listeners, guess.
So I'm thinking this might take a few days. It's 481 miles.
Ooh.
So
it's sub 500.
Sub 5. So. I mean, that's doable. It's doable.
Do we sound crazy?
You do.
We could do a relay. Like I run 50 miles and you run 50 and just kind of back and forth.
I'm not running 50. No, I will not.
I run 50, you run 5?
You're getting there. Closer
just
to
keep rotating
reality.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's put that on the back burner. On the ideas folder.
All right, I'll add that in there. It's a long list.
I know it's
ideas
long.
Folder.
It's very long. It's a couple gig.
Yeah, gig.
Yeah. So, well, Sal, let's just dive right in to a couple of people that gave some Chew Strong podcast love.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going right in.
I love that you want to dive into that, but I think there's a few introductory things that we need to take care of first.
How come I never get to you always interrupt this? I feel like you always have something else that you want to chat about first.
Well, I like chatting about you.
Can we do it out of order then? Can we just do maybe one right now and then do what you want to do and then we'll go back to what I was thinking? I don't know.
Change it up.
Come on, we're not married to a schedule here. We can do whatever we want.
That is a nice thing. We can kind of make our own rules.
Yes.
Do whatever we want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the joy of just creating your own thing.
That's right. So you know
what? We don't have any big executive producers or anything that are like, hey, this is the run of show. You are
obvious,
going to stick to it. But I just had this thought hop in my head really quick before you dive into that.
Let me pull up the ideas folder while you're talking.
We have a fig tree in our front yard. I didn't really realize we had a fig tree until
I didn't know it was a fig tree either.
Until the figs started blooming.
Mm-hmm.
And I was walking out to go run yesterday, And to my horror, there were like 15 beetles on one fig.
Yeah.
It was disgusting.
I took video. It's been a few days of that.
Are you going to put that on the YouTube? Do you think people actually want to see that?
People would love that. It's beautiful.
It was so gross.
No, it was great.
Yes, because then that fig fell on the ground and all those giant beetles, everything, they were all on the ground just like festering around this fig.
Yeah.
And I got back from my run and I turned that hose on jet and I cleaned up the whole patio and cleaned up a few. I think some of those, the beetles were literally dying because they had feasted so much on the figs. Like they weren't even moving. They were just like laying there eating. And I'm like, this is gluttony at its finest.
They do just sit there.
And it was, I mean, beetles are really funny anyway because they just like fly around. They run into walls and windows. They don't know where they're going, but somehow they do find the fig tree. And I was having no more of that because there was just fig mess everywhere too. Like they were eating these things off the tree. There was just, we came back from our trip and the mess they had made in our front, in like our courtyard area was gross.
Okay, so I thought beetles were absolutely blind, right? Like, because they run into things all the time. I just thought they were blind, but it says no. Most beetles have excellent vision.
There's no way.
Yeah, beetles maintain their perfect vision regardless of environmental factors, such as growing up in total darkness, which would render us virtually blind under similar circumstances. I just thought they were.
What was that last line?
Under similar circumstances. Isaiah and I were chatting about this yesterday because we just thought that they were blind, and then he asked me another question: are June bugs blind or are they just stupid? Because they do the similar thing. They just like run into things. But so anyways, that's
I think the beetles they're startling because they're so big and loud.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of like fly all over the place. But I had no idea their attraction to fig.
I didn't either. Yeah.
I mean, I think at one time there had to be like 25 beetles in that tree.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It was
kind of nasty.
It was like nothing I'd never seen before. And maybe we need to pick those figs.
Yeah, I think that's probably something we should do to get rid of the beetle.
Yeah.
The beetle infestation.
Yeah, so there's my tangent story that I just thought everyone needed to hear.
So you interrupted I was going to share, and you thought that was more important. Wow. Maybe we should have a schedule like that we follow. So we were talking about beetles and June bugs, figs. All right. You got any other nonsense over there?
Well, I wanted to ask you if you knew where Labor Day came from because today is Labor Day.
It is Labor Day. Hold on.
And,
I'm going to give you all the information you need on Labor Day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like how Labor Day started?
Do you have it on your end?
Where it originated?
Of course. We all know this, that it's celebrated to recognize the achievements of the U.S. labor movement from the 19th century. So, I mean, that's an obvious answer.
You know, the holiday was first recognized by Oregon in 1887.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah. So Oregon was the first one to recognize it. And, the reality is that most countries don't celebrate workers in September. So, I love how we're both staring at our computers, like talking as if we have all this on our mind. I knew this. I actually read about this before because I don't know. I get curious about something and I start doing research on it like immediately. I could be like folding towels, and then I'm like, I'm really curious about this, and then I'll just like want to read about it. So yeah, I don't think most kids like they have the day off from school. That's the thing. They have the day off from school.
Mm-hmm.
I got to have a conversation with Mackenzie for like an hour today. She's a communication studies major, which is my major. And she's in a class that I really loved when I was a student. So it was super fun. She called me asking for help on this project she's working on. But that turned into an hour long. And I realized Isaiah was still at home too. It felt like it was like a Saturday because she's talking to me and Isaiah's hanging around. I'm like, oh yeah. Do our kids even know why we have Labor Day? And the other fun fact that I learned was that 137 million Americans traveled on Labor Day last year, and I think half of them came to Huntington Beach.
Hey, it's a good place to come and enjoy a day off for sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't blame them. I don't blame them.
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by Mudwater. Have you heard of this before? I've actually heard of this for a while, and I've been very curious to give it a try. And when they sent it to me, I noticed that there was a little recipe on the side to make a mud latte. Now, listeners, you know what a big coffee drinker I am. So, of course, I'm going to be a little skeptical. But I went ahead and I tried the mud latte. So I mixed a tablespoon of the mud water powder with some hot water, some creamer, and shockingly, it was really good. I like this stuff. Now, this is essentially a coffee alternative. So, if you find yourself yawning and tired, let's say like at 3 p.m., but you don't want to drink an afternoon cup of coffee, or maybe you've just had too much coffee or coffee jitters, you might want to give Mudwater a try. It's filled with really good ingredients too. You got chai, cacao, lion's mane, chaga, reishi, turmeric, cinnamon. It's amazing. And it gets your energy fix without your heart going crazy, without that jittery feeling. So Mudwater is kind of like coffee's chill, yoga-loving cousin who went on a spiritual retreat and came back more zen. But just kind of imagine being alert and calm at the same time while not having trouble falling asleep at night. So every single ingredient in Mudwater products are 100% USADA certified organic, non-GMO, gluten-free, vegan, and kosher. And there's also 0 sugar and no sweeteners added, which I think is pretty cool. And for our listeners, this is extra cool. You guys get a nice little discount. So if you head over to mudwater.com and grab your starter kit, for a limited time, our listeners get up to 43% off your entire order. Free shipping and a free rechargeable frother, which I used, and it's a good one. I might get rid of my other frother because this one's really good. But just use the code STRONG, and that's up to 43% off your order with code STRONG at mudwtr.com. After you purchase, they ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Stay energized and refreshed all year long with Mudwater because life's too short for anything less than natural, delicious energy.
All right, so I'm going to continue, Sal, with what I had originally in my mind and was going to share. So
I'm excited. Let's dive in. These are always good.
They're always good.
Yeah.
So I was just going to share. It's always fun to share a few reviews of what the heck we're doing over here, right? And so this one is from the Apple Podcast review world, and this is from Billy B. Thornton. So I don't know if it's the Billy Bob that I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
but,
okay.
Who knows? Maybe.
All
right, this one says, I recently discovered this podcast, and it's quickly become one of my favorites. I've dabbled in podcasts before, but none have kept me coming back like this one. I stumbled upon it after getting hooked on Sally's YouTube videos, and I've been an avid listener ever since. There's something special about this podcast, from the inviting intro music. Okay, can we just pause there really quick?
Okay. I don't like our intro music.
No, I know.
I don't like our music at all.
Okay, well, obviously other people do. So Billy B. Thornton does. From the inviting intro music. It's inviting. I think it is. It's inviting. Anyway, from the inviting intro music to the dynamic between hosts Sally and Eddie. They have a way of making you feel at ease, and the whole experience is just so calming. Whether I'm out for a run or driving, I find myself really enjoying each episode. Sally and Eddie, thank you.
I really appreciate that.
I like that one.
And I hope that he still likes our podcast after the intro that we just had.
Yeah, he might. you might have switched over to another podcast.
Listeners, I've tried for like a solid year. I would love to rebrand. I mean, we still need to do an updated picture. Right now, if you open up like Spotify or Apple, it's just me
it's a great one.
in my sports bra with my arms crossed by myself. It's like Choose Strong with Sal and McCray. I'm like, why don't we have a picture together? Like, there's a lot of things that we need to do. But you know what? We're a 2-man show, and there's things get put on the back burner sometimes, and that has been one of them. But yeah. We need to work with a branding specialist and kind of update the music, the photos.
Well, okay, so I'm not married to that music, but I don't mind it. I think it's kind of, you go with it for so long, you're like,
right?
It's just something like Billy B was saying, it's inviting. And you just kind of look forward to that little melody.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe it's just me.
No, it's good.
It is great.
It's good.
It's great.
And you chose it, so I don't want to seem like I'm bashing you.
It does sound like it. But all right, anyways, Billy B, we thank you for writing that and listening. All right, the second one is also from the Apple Podcast world. This is from Oregon Tess LC. Oregon Tess LC, here we go.
Okay.
This is my favorite podcast to listen to on my way to an epic hike or when I need a pick-me-up and some affirmation or just a reminder that I can do hard things. And there's a community of people who are also striving to do hard, epic things. Sally always has helpful tidbits that I store away for when I need them. Eddie is the kudos king and adds a great perspective. Highly recommend this podcast for all athletes, aspiring athletes, recovering from injury athletes, or anyone who just wants to finish their listen feeling inspired and empowered. Great stuff.
I love it. That was very kind.
Oregon Tess.
Yes.
There we go. Appreciate Oregon Tess giving us a little shout and on to his or her epic hike. I like that. All right, Sally, if you don't have anything on that end, I'm going to move right into highlighting some of our community members. Unless you want to interrupt again and you got some random tidbits that we all need to know, feel free to jump right in.
Well, it's usually like in the intro that I just like to talk about like random stuff.
It is.
What's been going on in our day and our week and things that have been happening. And, we have a lot of friends that are running with us right now.
We do.
And people that are driving and hanging out. And, you and I get a lot of funny questions.
We do.
We get a lot of funny questions. People even ask like, "Hey, what makes a successful marriage?"
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that people
as if we have the answer to that. I don't know. Maybe that's a funny question.
Endurance and choosing to love daily. That's the short answer. Yeah, choose love. But I was thinking about like the week we have and I feel like I get these moments sometimes as the week goes on where sometimes the week feels like it's a month long just because so many crazy things happen within that week. And no day is like the same, right? And we get a lot of surprises. Mm-hmm. One of the things that is always entertaining for you and I are the offers, requests, and the offers and requests that come in through our email. Uh-huh. So on the daily, we always get collaboration requests, which 99.99% of the time we either don't even open, we don't respond to.
Yeah.
Eddie and I don't see ourselves as influencers. Like we're not looking to do a brand collaboration on scrunchies and chocolate milk. So we do kind of giggle sometimes at some of these collaboration requests, but sometimes we also, I guess just throughout my career, I do get invited to events in various places around the globe.
Yes.
And this is, I think, starting like in 2016 is when I really started to get invited to race around the world, which I grabbed a hold of a lot of those things just because I love to travel. I've wanted to see the world. But the most interesting one, I think to date, was one that just came in a few days ago. Mm-hmm. I kind of laughed about it, was being invited to race on Antarctica.
Yeah.
There is an ultra there.
There are so many questions that I have about that race. I don't know anything about that race, but I just have tons of questions.
Well, I mean, the only time that I've really heard about people racing on Antarctica are those people that do that 7 races on 7 continents, which in my mind, I'm like, that is amazing. Whether you are a professional athlete or not, like it doesn't have anything to do with that. It's like, that's incredible to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I think it's like 7 days, 7 continents, seven races. So you're like traveling nonstop, and it's gotta be like, how expensive do you think that is?
Well, I mean, you travel 7 days?
I'm almost positive you do.
So,
I think it's 7 races, 7 continents in 7 days. Or maybe that is one of the challenges within it. I thought that that's what that was, though.
that makes sense. That'd be very, very difficult to do.
Yeah.
And do you know the like distance of the race? Is it like a marathon?
So this one is, you have several options.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And, I have to say I've been invited to race everywhere. Mm-hmm. And it's very hard to turn down some of these races because I simply want to go just because I want to go and see it.
Sure.
This one right away, I was like, yes, I want to do this. But here's all the distances. So there is a marathon distance. There's a 50K, 50 miles, 100K, and then 24-hour relay. Now, just to get there, it's like a 4-day excursion. Like you fly into South Africa. Mm-hmm. You stay in South Africa. I think that's where you have your race. Like
that alone,
debriefing.
Getting to South Africa.
Oh my gosh!
Gnarly, right?
Yes, I've done that a few times. Probably one of the roughest.
Yeah.
One of the roughest trips next to, depending on where you go, like in China. I remember when I raced in the Gobi Desert. That was incredible too. That was 2 days straight of traveling, and it was rough traveling.
I remember the longest flight, like Cambodia. When I tried to get to Cambodia, it was
what was
the
that?
longest. It was something insane. It was years ago, but
sometimes I forget that you did that. That was an incredible trip.
That
for you.
was a long flight. Anyways, so South Africa, and then you go from there somewhere else. Yeah.
So you have. I mean, it's before you even race. It is an adventure. So the commitment to the race as a whole, I mean, you have to take probably 2 weeks off of work, is what I'm thinking. And I think that's the best way to approach this. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like, who gets to do that? I mean, you've just won every cocktail party conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you do? Well, I did just get back from racing in Antarctica.
Yeah, unless the guy that you're sitting with went to the moon, you're going to win.
Right? I mean, it's kind of like telling people that you summited Mount Everest. I mean, it's just a rarity.
Rare. Yeah.
It's a rarity. And with that comes a pretty penny because so the race director, he reaches out, he'd love for you to come. And then he offers a discounted rate of $15,000. This trip is $20,000 to participate in it.
Just the race.
Yeah,
right.
And then he's like, we'll do it for $15,000. And that's a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
For a race. I mean, that is a huge chunk of change. So I declined. I was like, I appreciate that. That is a massive fee. Well, on top of the commitment.
Just to put something in perspective on my end, I sign up for races a year in advance at the $99 level. So once it gets to like $125, or it's like, hey, sign up now because tomorrow it's going up to $130, I'm like, I'm out. That's $130 is too much. Yeah. So when you're talking $20,000 for a race, that is
$20,000 for a race. But here's I mean, it's all about perspective, goals. Like you're seeing this as the experience. Oh, yeah. You're seeing it as the experience. And here it is. They are the same people who do it's 7 marathons, 7 continents in 7 days.
Oh, it's a marathon. Okay.
Yeah, it's literally it is 7.
Yeah.
So I think that the way that you have to approach this is a lifelong dream. It's on the bucket list. Yep. It's, this is something that I would love to do. And so you make the time, you save the money, right?
Oh, yeah.
He was asking that I run it this year. It's in November. I mean, it's like a couple months away.
So September now. So
yes. So there's a lot of moving parts that would need to happen. Now, one of the reasons why I have also for even many years back, was able to travel to all these amazing places to race. They were always sponsored.
Yeah.
You know, so I was flown out, I was put up in accommodations. I usually would do some type of speaking event or media, and then, you know, I would race. It's part of my job.
Sure.
And I don't think that is, you know, uncommon for, you know, professional athletes. Like, you know, you understand that you're there, that's your job, and on many different levels. So yeah, you're there to race, but you're there to be a good ambassador of the race, to share the journey with your, on social media, to talk about it, to be a good representative.
Yeah.
And you know, there have been times, especially in the beginning of my career, where I would have never been able to just afford that. I would have not been able to just like go to Italy and race and pay for all that. So when these opportunities were presented to me and they were completely paid for, I mean, I was just like the gift of my life. Yeah. And that was only stuff that I could, you know, I could dream of. So, you know, this price tag was, that was shocking. But at the same time, it is hard to ignore what an incredible experience that would be.
Oh, yeah.
And if I went, Eddie, you would most definitely come.
Yeah, that's one that I'm coming with on that one. But I don't like to use this word a lot, and I don't use it a lot, but it's a hefty price.
It is a hefty price. And like I said, you got to be all in.
Yeah.
You that has to be something like you're gearing up for.
Yeah, it has to be like, hey, like in 2026, you know, that's 2 years from now.
Yes.
Let's start working our way towards getting over there. Not, hey, in 6 weeks, let's head over to Antarctica.
Like it's just like a few states over, right?
Yeah.
Right? Might be something I need a little bit more time to wrap my head around. But you go on the site and you see the pictures and you see this experience that it really is an unparalleled opportunity. I mean, think about anything else that even comes close to that. I mean, there just isn't.
I mean, are you just running on the frozen tundra?
The pictures are beyond beautiful. Okay, but yes, you are.
I need to research and look at
Mike Wardian. My buddy Mike Wardian did the 7 marathons, 7 continents in 7 days, and I loved following it. It was just, it's just like one. I don't even think I even care what the times are. You're just like, this is amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, how cool. I mean, there's probably only like 50 people that have ever been able to do that. Yeah. You know, that's so cool. I love having, you know, things in the history of our life that we can look back and be like, oh yeah, it was pretty unique. I got to do that. Like that was a rad experience or opportunity. Not that it needs to be on this grandiose stage and something that's so expensive, but there have even been like specific training runs that I've done with people before that I'm like, I will remember this for a very long time because this probably never happen again, or like I'll never have this experience again. So that's super fun. But did you know what is really crazy to me is that I don't think people know that Antarctica is actually the world's largest desert.
Desert?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Because it's also like the windiest, coldest place. But a desert, by definition, it's an area that gets less than 10 inches of rainfall a year. It's like within, no more than 25 centimeters. And so it actually edges out even the Sahara Desert. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
So, that was it. So after I got invited, of course, I was like looking up all the facts about Antarctica, and it's like the coldest, windiest, driest, and highest continent. There's no official time zone in Antarctica.
Wow.
Yeah, for the kids that are still with us right now, here's some fun facts that you can tell your teacher.
History lesson.
There have been at least 11 babies born in Antarctica. Isn't that crazy? 11 babies. Yeah, that's never happened before.
11 babies born. Okay.
I think the first one was in 1978. And then Antarctica has a lake so salty it doesn't freeze.
Wow.
Antarctica is also bigger than the United States. So,
you know what? I did know that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm not going to continue on with all of my facts here and what I learned about it.
Do you think the aid stations at this race are igloos?
That would be so cool.
So rad, huh?
That would be so cool. Yeah, I am curious if this is something that's like I did not look at the exact route of how they run this, but I imagine that you have to be pretty self-sufficient, and you do have to carry a lot with you. It's probably some type of loop, so that they can accommodate you.
Or when you're over there, you hire some Eskimos to crew you.
Yeah, something. If you are interested, for those of you that are curious, because I'm curious about everything on the planet, just go to iceultra.com and you'll see there's the North Pole Marathon, the Antarctic Ice Marathon, and then, of course, the World Marathon Challenge, which we were talking about. The pictures are stunning. I mean, it is just...
I got to check that out.
It's like nothing you've ever seen. But I'm not necessarily taking this off the list because when I responded to the race director, I was like, listen, that's pretty hefty, especially, so soon. But then he wrote back like, what okay, how can we make this work?
Yeah.
I haven't written back yet, but
just write them back 2028.
Yeah, that might be something in the future, but it is one of those things where if I went, I would want to go with you because this wouldn't necessarily be like, oh, I want to go and win. It's just I want to go see what it's like to run there. And wow,
what shoes would you wear if you were in that race? I'm telling you, I have so many questions about this.
That's actually one of the so I did reload too much. One of the factors that people have to consider is underfoot terrain.
Yeah.
That's something that people really do struggle with because, it's you're definitely battling the elements, and so, I'm curious too.
Yeah, that's interesting.
If it's so cold and you're running on ice pretty much the whole time, what shoes do you wear?
Yeah. I'm thinking you wear Crocs.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. There's an idea.
In sport mode.
Yeah. Well, they have like a whole, they've thought of everything. So when
I'm sure they have.
They've said this is how you train for it, everything you need to know about training for for Antarctic Ice Ultra. They go over the gear. But the nice thing is you're not at altitude, so that's a factor that doesn't, I think it only sits like at 1,800 feet, so it's not like super thin air, but
you're just freezing the whole time. But
you're just freezing, so
no biggie.
Yeah, I don't know how we got talking to that. I was just talking about like our crazy week, Ed, and the different things that come come our way, and make for some very interesting conversation.
Yeah.
And I had to share that.
Thank you for sharing that to all of us.
Between the Antarctic Ice Ultra and running from my front door to Mackenzie's dorm door, we have a lot of training to do.
Yeah, the race calendar is starting to really shape up here.
Right? Got some exciting things on the horizon, my friends.
Yes, you do. I don't know if there's a day that goes by over here at the McRae household that I am not made fun of for something that I'm wearing. My kids love to poke fun at the shirts that I wear that are older than them, or the shorts that are a little bit too short and out of style. But thankfully, lately, I have been wearing some Janji gear. Now, Janji's awesome because it looks great, but also is super comfortable. I've been wearing their 5-inch middle short quite a bit lately. I've been wearing it to run. I've been wearing it to the gym, but also just been wearing it to go about my day in. And in fact, I wore these shorts for Sally's Western States race as I was crewing her. Wore them all day. They were great. They were comfortable. They had a ton of pockets. Really, really love those shorts. And also been wearing the windbreaker, the Zephyr Runner Windshield. Great little jacket. It's packable and it looks great as well. Another great thing about Janji is that 2% of all their sales are donated to clean water programs around the world. And up until this point, they've donated almost $1 million to clean water solutions around the globe. So if you are looking to level up or upgrade your running apparel or just your everyday wear, consider Janji. Janji's available at REI stores as well as Janji.com. And if you use code CHOOSESTRONG, you will get 10% off at Janji.com. That's CHOOSESTRONG at Janji.com. All right, Sally. I am gonna continue on this end, and I'm gonna share. So speaking of cool things that come our way, Elizabeth sent a message in our Instagram, and this is what she said. She said, "Shout out to Sally for inspiring my 11-year-old daughter for her first cross country race.
Aww.
It was her own idea to write past Gap and Berry on her hand, and then she finished third out of 156 runners. Thankful for all you, thankful for all for you. Thankful for you all for keeping the podcast clean so that I can listen with my 3 young girls."
Aw.
Shout out to the 11-year-old who
Did
got
she say her
third.
daughter? What her daughter's
Yeah,
name was?
no, it didn't say.
Oh,
her
okay,
daughter.
and that's fine. Didn't you text me
I
that
did text you the
I
picture.
think I was up in the Eastern Sierra when you
Yes.
sent that to me, and
An
you're
awesome picture.
and you said, "Sally, zoom in on her hand."
Yeah.
And I saw the words "past Gap and Berry," and it just like made my heart just
Isn't that cool?
swell. Yeah, so awesome. And thank you so much for writing in that review. Love hearing about the kids
Yeah.
pursuing their goals. I know you read one last week about a freshman cross country runner who's really been getting after it
Yep.
over these past few years to get healthy and strong. And this is the future of our sport, Ed.
Yeah, I know.
This is we got a strong generation ahead.
Here they come.
They're training hard, so I love it. And the past Gap and Berry, if you are a new listener, you're not familiar with that, where that story came from, you can go on my YouTube channel and check out the Every Step Forward. It is the Cocodona 250 documentary, and it's a twofold meaning. So there is a part in the race where I actually use this as a strategy. And it just so happens that our film crew, they found me like at 1:00 in the morning with my pacer. And I was on this road section connecting to a trail. And I look over at them and I said, "Hey, we're doing this little strategy called Pass, Gap, and Berry." Now, what was going on in that moment was like, I was like 120 miles into this race, and I was actually feeling pretty horrific. And I had been for a long time because my feet were terrible and shredded. I was in pain every single step. And really what was going on was my amazing pacer, Summer. I had to choose in that moment, like, yeah, I can be in pain walking. I can be in pain crawling. I can be in pain walking backwards. I can be in pain jogging. And it was just, let's kind of get out of focusing on that pain and let's like race. Like, this is what I love to do. This is, and sometimes when we just shift our focus onto something better, when we shift our focus back onto why we originally started, we shift our focus onto a goal that we have for ourselves, that really does help us overcome the discomfort. And it was really a mind game that I was playing with myself. I'm going to stop focusing on how bad this hurts, and I'm just going to focus on, hey, there was the next female. So at this time I was in 5th place, and Summer checked her tracker. This is a kind of a fun thing about the 200s. You have live trackers, and your pacers can check the trackers and say, hey, there's somebody a mile ahead of us and you're moving faster. And it just so happened that Summer actually knew who that was ahead of us. And she's like, let's go get her. So because we then shifted to catching and passing the next runner, it just changed my mindset. Now, a coaching strategy, and I've talked about this for a long time. I've even referenced this. Mackenzie has used it in races before, and it actually does work. And it's not anything you say to anybody, like when you're racing. It's not hostile. It's not mean. It's when you are showing up to race, you're there to get the best out of yourself, and you are there to do everything you can to empty yourself all the way to that finish line. So it is a fun, competitive way to race. And what you do is you target in on the next person that you want to pass. You pass them, and you immediately gap them. And the way that you do that is you pick up pace. So when you get closer, you pick up the pace. And that could be for 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, but you turn on the jets. And when you do that, it's not very comforting for the person that you're passing. It's kind of, it's hard to respond to that if the person either isn't ready or if they're in a tough spot too. And so then it's bury, and the idea of burying the person that you just passed is that you are continuing to push. So you continue to put in these efforts. So Summer and we created this game, and we did it for 1 or 2 hours, but we would push for 30 to 60 seconds. We would run, and then we would power hike. And then we would run hard and then power hike. We kept on doing that over and over again. And we caught 4th place. We gapped 4th place pretty fast. And then we just never saw her again. I mean, it was, we still had 120 miles to go. And I think that was all about me and moving my mindset. That didn't have anything to do with who the person was. It isn't personal to the competitors. But we have received, Eddie, I've lost count, hundreds of messages and emails of people who are saying, dude, I did that in a race and it actually works.
Yep,
so I'm like, yeah, it's you basically locking back in. It's you having a focus. And sometimes when you make a game or you have a mini goal, and sometimes you could be last place and you see someone in the distance, you're like, I'm going to go past that person. It has nothing to do with attacking the person. It has everything to do with you hey, I need to pick up the pace. I just want to be better than this. And so I'm going to pass this person and this person and this person. I mean, we've heard people say things like, I passed 30 people. I passed 80 people. I got on the podium, or and even if they're not passing me, they're like, dude, it just took me out of this funk that I was in. And I just reminded myself, I can get out of this. So, that is the power behind it. Competitively, we are there to get the best out of ourselves. So you can play that game and you can kind of charge yourself up like a lion. And, but the flip side of it is also the mindset of everyday life. We can choose to pass on our setbacks and failures and things that didn't go right. We can gap those because they're in our past. And we should bury them because there's nothing that we can do about them, and you keep pressing forward. And so that idea of every single day, my goal is to get the best out of myself and not focus on what was behind me and what I couldn't change. And that's kind of what happened at Cocodona. I couldn't change all the mistakes that I had made with my gear and how terrible I was feeling. My feet weren't going to get better. And I had to bury that. I had to bury that focus and focus on the finish line. So we do have Pass, Gap, and Bury gear right now in our shop. If you want to check that out, there is a link in the show notes. You can always go to SallyMcRae.com to find my shop, or in my Instagram profile. But yeah, there's some fun Pass, Gap, and Bury merch in there. So if you want to put that on and remind yourself that you are physically and mentally strong, and there's a fun little strategy that you can use. Again, this isn't just about those racing up front. It's for everyone. It's
for everyone. I mean, I use it when I pull in to the parking lot, the same, right next to someone else. Mm-hmm. I use Pass, Gap, and Bury to get in front of them for the Chipotle line.
Right.
I pass them when we get out, and then I kind of gap them, and then I bury them. I don't even open the door for them. I just get in there and
I use that in the airport during international travel. As soon as I get off the plane and I know that I have to go through customs, I'm not kidding, I will hightail it because, and I tell myself, every person I pass, that's a 1 minute time back for myself. And I do. I will run to customs off the plane.
Okay, so yes, 100%. But you pass, gap, and bury me just getting off the plane and going to the parking lot. You, for whatever reason, as soon as you get in the airport, you turn on the jets, and for no reason. We're there 3 hours before the flight, and you're going so fast.
Pass, Gap, and Bury to TSA.
So yesterday,
Pass, Gap, and Bury to
yes, you buried me. So yesterday, you know how there's the people mover what is it called?
You can stand on the moving escalator.
Yes. You are faster without that, and I can't even catch up to you when you're not using that. I'm not lying.
That's another game I play. It is literally a game. I
game.
try to see how many people I can pass on the walking escalator. That's just true confession right now.
Okay, but
listen, when you have a full day of travel and you're sitting so much, you got to have some fun and games.
But it's like, hey, I get off the plane, I'm hanging out with my wife, and like we're just gonna stroll because we got like 3 hours to the next flight. Nope, you're like already 100 feet ahead of me, and I can't. I'm like, whatever.
Well, you were with Isaiah, so when you're with somebody else, then I just like I go and have fun. I go and have a little workout, little game.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, Pass Gap and Barry is just all over the place. So
it's all over
whether
the place.
we are in the grocery line,
Yeah.
we are in international airports on our way to customs. One of the worst airports for customs when you are connecting flights is Paris. The Paris airport. Oh my gosh. I mean, I have arrived 2.5 hours before my connecting flight and have almost missed my flight
That's insane.
because the getting through customs is such a nightmare. And I'm sure it's different at different times of year.
Nobody's
years.
sympathizing though with you because you're in Paris. So they're like, yeah, whatever. You got to go to Paris.
Yeah, I'm just saying though.
I know
That's
you
kind
are.
of where that comes from.
No, I know.
So I get off the plane and I hightail it because I know there have been a couple times I've missed a flight, even with really long layovers because customs took forever. So I will pass people off my flight and I'll say 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute. I just saved myself 48 minutes.
All right. Well, Elizabeth, back to you, and thank you for sharing your little your daughter's story with us. That was pretty cool to see and to share. So thank you for writing that in. The next one is from Strava, Choose Strong Strava group, and we got Kyle. Kyle wrote in. He said 47 days until my first 100-mile race. I downloaded the last 3 episodes of the Choose Strong podcast, and it was perfect until they started to make me cry. Why do you have to pull those strings when I'm running? Also, I'm going to stop listening now, so I have plenty of hours to listen during my race. And he is running the Kodiak, and this was about a week ago, and he said 47 days until then. So, Kyle, 2 things. 1, thank you for listening. 2, good luck, dude. 100-mile Kodiak.
That's here locally.
Yes.
In the Big Bear.
Yes, it is.
Mountains.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for taking us along on your training as well as your race. So good luck out there, Kyle. All right, last one. Also in the Choose Strong Strava group, Dustin. Dustin said, first time ever running over 10 miles.
Oh, heck yeah.
And he clocked a 13.5. So he went a half marathon. And that's it. He just wanted to share that. So, Dustin, well done, dude. Hitting the double digits.
Double digits is no joke.
We always like to highlight that. That's a big
well,
deal.
It is a big deal. I think double digits can be intimidating. I don't know if you can connect with that or if you remember, Eddie, the first time that you went past 9 miles. But I know.
I have a bad memory, so no, I don't. But
well, I know when you were doing this build up to the LA Marathon.
yeah.
You were hitting a lot of double digit.
Well, yeah, the first time that I hit
Train
20, I was like, dude, woo, that's a long way. So I definitely remember that one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's exciting when you feel your body getting stronger and then pretty soon like 8 miles isn't a big deal
Yeah.
and then 10 miles isn't. So
Yep.
yeah, well done.
Dustin, well done, dude. And yeah, he's also in that Choose Strong Strava group and such a cool group.
I love it. This episode is brought to you by Lumen. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. And on the app, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs and gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, workouts, sleep, and even stress. All you have to do is breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning, and you'll know what's going on with your metabolism, whether you're burning mostly fats or carbs. Then Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for that day based on your measurements. You can also breathe into it before and after workouts and meals, so you know exactly what's going on in your body in real time. And Lumen will give you tips to keep you on top of your health game. Now, one of the things that I really love about this is that it can also track your cycle as well as the onset of menopause and adjust your recommendations to keep your metabolism healthy through hormonal shifts. So if you want to take the next step in improving your health, go to lumen.me/Sally to get 15% off your Lumen. That is LUMEN.me/Sally for 15% off your purchase. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode.
All right, Sally, that is all I got. So let's move on to substance or random stuff that you have left over
Well,
there.
I do love the topic of this podcast. In fact, it's one of my favorite topics and something that I feel you and I can talk about for hours. I think we're already an hour into this podcast, but
Close too,
the reason why I like this topic is because it's relatable both in running and outside of running. For those of you that are running right now, I think that, you're going to get some encouragement here.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to feel seen. This actually comes from, we kind of wanted to zero in. We were looking at a lot of the FAQs.
Yeah.
I'll just kind of back up there. And sometimes, Eddie, I know when you look at a lot of the frequently asked questions and questions that people submit, you like to categorize them and say, hey, wow, a lot of people are asking about this. And so this is probably a very frequent question that we get. And I think that it's very real. I know that we did a podcast episode not too long ago talking about the kind of like the second half of the year push and why it is that for a lot of us, we get to this time of year and it can feel exhausting. A lot of us crave structure again as kids are going back to school, or just coming off of, for those of you that, that don't have kids going back to school, but even just coming off of a long summer season where you kind of need some structure again. But also realizing that we are just, we got less than 4 months left in the 2024 year. And so, all that to say, the frequented question is, how is it that you keep training month after month? Now, I feel like when the kids were younger, I would get this question. How do you train with little kids?
Yeah.
And then as the kids were very busy, so when they were full on into, Isaiah's always played like 3 sports. Mackenzie's running schedule's been really busy. That was then a question. How do you run a business and do the social activities, raise a family, take care of the home? And still find that time to train. So I just wanted to hit on this, kind of hang out here, because I think this is something that our listeners can connect to, that the consistency in training day in and day out, regardless of what that looks like, whether it's a recovery day, a hard day, you're in a structured race schedule type program in your training, or you're just trying to stay fit, the consistency and the motivation to continue to do that year after year after year is a very real topic. And yeah, I'd love just to kind of dive into that.
Yeah, I think part of it too is staying consistent when it's not easy, right? Like it's never easy, right? It's never like, not never easy, but it's not like always easy, right? It's always got its difficulties. Training for something, going to work, all these things that we have to do and are trying to do and we want to be consistent in. But sometimes it's just like you wake up and you don't want to do it, but you should, or, so yeah, I think maybe you sharing some stories of how you are able to stay consistent when it's not easy, when it's difficult. Maybe start with training for races, and then we can kind of go in other directions. But like, how do you stay so consistent when it's like, I don't have the motivation, or I'm tired today, but I know I should do it?
Mm-hmm. There's a couple big factors that I remind myself I have to on a weekly basis, and I learned these fairly young. And I think by way of coaches and just also being on team sport, I think starting off as a youngster, like being surrounded by teammates, like you start to quickly understand, like, oh yeah, a lot of us are feeling the same way. And that is the joy on being like on a soccer team or a basketball team, is like you have teammates and you're all out there kind of doing the same thing, and you're showing up, and the drills are hard, and the reps around the field or the sprint, it's like everyone's exhausted, no one wants to do them. Like, so you kind of get used to seeing that, okay, I'm not alone in this. But I think for runners, there's a vast majority that train alone and don't have coaches or don't have people to run with. Outside of running, for those that, that isn't their focus, they're trying to stay fit. Not everyone has a training partner. Not everyone has a trainer or even gym to go to, or maybe access to equipment, or not knowing like where to start. So I think that at a young age, I understood that there is just obstacles for all of us when we are training. And I think that when you first accept the fact that training actually isn't supposed to feel good every day, and sometimes your body's sore, sometimes you are tired, some days you have way more energy than other days. So on a very elementary level, embracing that was foundational. And for those of you with kids, this is actually important to point out, is if you have a kid that's like, oh, I don't want to go, it's not fun. I don't want to go to practice, it's not fun, or like, I just don't like this anymore. Get to the root of actually what that is. Sometimes it's just like, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I used to say that to Mackenzie, and Isaiah used to be on the running team too when they were really little. But there's no equipment to hide behind in running. There is no half times and breaks and subbing people in, and like, it's just running. It's just your body, hitting the ground or the pavement over and over and over again. And sometimes at faster paces, and sometimes going uphill. And it's just, you feel your whole body the whole time. And so I think that being able to accept that even things that we love are going to be uncomfortable and that they don't always feel good, it's a good truth to embrace. And it's good to point that out to kids in their youth. It's okay to not feel good. It's okay that this isn't fun all the time. It's okay that you're not the best one on the team. It's okay that, you didn't hit your goal this time. It's all part of achieving something really great down the road, though. And with ultra running year after year, I mean, I'm 45 now. And I think that is why I'm asked this question so much, because it is year after year, season after season, month after month. It doesn't matter, what is going on with my life. I do show up to train because I understand some of these very basic truths about what I'm doing. So one, I don't base my training on feelings. I think that's one of the biggest barriers for people when they are trying to stick to a plan, or they're trying to create some type of discipline or consistency, is paying not paying attention. That's the wrong word. It's giving too much energy and too much value to just like how you're feeling about the workout. Now, I'm definitely not downplaying the fact that, like, hey, if you're injured, just ignore those feelings. No, that's definitely not what I'm talking about. There's also like seasons that are just incredibly hard. Like I think about when I lost my mom. I wasn't super excited to train. I didn't want to do anything. So obviously and that's the part of being a human, our seasons come and go. And when I understand that when I step outside into fresh air and I train my body, regardless of how I feel, so if I'm tired, if I'm sad, if I'm stressed out, if I'm anxious, I typically feel better after I've moved my body outside.
Yeah.
And I can play around with the intensity, So if I had a really rough day with the kids, let's say that, and I was so stressed out, and Eddie gets home from work, and then this is younger days, and I had this tempo run plan. You know what? I might not do the tempo, but I am still going to go out for an hour, and maybe I do a walk run. So I kind of learned to see that the most important thing was that I was consistently always doing something, and that sometimes life, when it felt heavy or, I had to be flexible, or the schedule changed, or the kids were sick, it was okay to change, or modify a workout. But I have always held on to it's not okay to just do nothing all the time. And I think that once we start giving ourselves excuses to not show up for ourselves, to show up for the workout, show up for the training plan, because we have a goal down the road, it's a lot easier to continue to do that. It's a lot easier to find other excuses or other reasons. And then pretty soon it's like you've taken 4 days off, you've taken 2 weeks off, you've taken a month off, and then now you've lost sight of why you had started, originally. So, that's a huge one. So one, being consistent is choosing and committing to doing something, knowing that it isn't always going to feel amazing, but it will always be worth it, because the only way to achieve the goal that I'm hoping to is by doing something every day. And that's that regardless of your fitness level, like where you are in your own personal journey, that's something we can all apply. So if you are coming back from a knee injury and you haven't run like in 6 months, and every day you try and do something, it could be mobility, it could be stretching, it could be a walk, it could be going in the pool, and you just keep building. In those beginning stages when you're coming back from an injury, it does not feel good. You might be a little bit heavier. You can feel that you're a little bit weaker. Things are going to feel harder. And I think it's in that where a lot of people give up, and people get down on themselves, and they kind of beat themselves up like, oh man, it's going to take me forever to get back to where I was. And I just want to encourage you, keep going, keep trying, because that is the only way to get better, is you have to work through all of that. And those that have suffered much and have endured a lot, we see this historically over and over, they end up being the strongest ones. So as hard as that might be to hear right now, it's like, no, you're actually be stronger because of this. That's not always what everyone wants to hear, but it is true. It's true when you have to put in like extra work and work that much harder in things that seem so easy for other people. You are building up this mental fortitude that the people that can do stuff so easily, they don't have. And we see this a lot. You see this like in youth sports, especially, Eddie, when let's say like a hockey team, they've won all their games for the last 2 seasons. When they start losing in a game, they don't even know how to handle that. They don't even know what to do. They don't know how to fight. They don't know how to overcome. They don't know how to like band together and like, hey, you guys, let's turn this around. Like they give up. And they complain, and it's everyone else's fault. And it's super common in youth sports. So I think it's good when kids lose. I think it's good when undefeated teams just, they experience loss. You need to experience loss when you are young. So even into our adult years, keep reminding yourself that, like, I'm going to sign up for this half marathon. I'm going to embark on this half marathon training plan. But I will accept right now that it won't be easy every single day. And if you think that every day you're going to run, you're going to have energy and blue skies and like your body's going to feel amazing, well, you're deceiving yourself. The journey to the start line, just to get to the start line, is going to come with some challenges. So that's actually what you're committing to. I'm committing to the challenges that come with getting to the start line. Now, going from the start line to the finish line, that's your celebration. That's a whole other journey. Right now, you are focusing on, if you're training for a race, getting to the start line as best you can. And that's the second point that I want to bring up in this is I always think about, and trust me, I have my days I don't want to train, but I think about what I want to feel and what I want to think about and believe about myself when I'm standing on the start line. So when I stand on the start line, will I be proud of my training? When I stand on the start line, am I going to be doubting myself because I didn't do the training? When I stand on the start line, am I going to be proud of the fact that I did everything that I could to be the best that I could be? And that's going to give me a completely different experience as I go from the start to the finish line. And so, no one is going to be thinking about your training as much as you. And no one is going to be 24/7 on you about whether or not you did your training. That's your job. That's your responsibility. Even when you have a coach, a lot of time coaches they're coaching multiple people. And so you might have your training plan, but it is your job to show up and get that done so that you can stand on the start line and be proud of yourself. The little detail that's added to that, I always tell people what they can say when they're at the start line, and they get to the middle of the race and it's hard. I say, think about the story that you want to tell the next day. And I think if we can look at our lives right now, so listeners, if you can just think about if you had to sit down and write your story today in a book, what are the main points? What are the big memories? What are the experiences? And what are those memories that come to mind that stand out the most for you, and why? I really feel like the best stories definitely have at some point a moment of tension, of conflict. There's a turning point. And so for those of you that are in that tension, that conflict, or maybe you're just in that lack of confidence right now, whatever it is that you're in, know that that's also what makes for a good story, because now you get to choose how to respond to it. So, it's kind of a boring story if everything's just like smooth sailing and nothing really happens all the time, right? The human journey is filled with a lot of discomfort and setbacks, and those are actually what make a great story, because people want to observe, they want to learn, and they want to know how you're going to respond to that. Most often our greatest inspiration is from people who have overcome something and have figured out how to do something, who have kept going despite it all, who have had a seemingly pretty rough handicap in an area of their life that they have worked through and still gotten their goals. So I want you, listener, to think of yourself as the main character of your story, and think about what you're writing in your chapter today. And you don't have to, if you're training for a race, you don't have to think about the training that you're going to do in 3-4 weeks from now. You don't even need to think about the race. All you need to think about is the training that you're in right now and how you can make yourself better today. And I think, Eddie, I always love to parallel running with life. And, for many of our listeners, they use running as a way to kind of take a break from the stress and anxieties in life. It's their quiet time. It's their alone time. It's kind of their time to be with their own thoughts, or even, enjoy a podcast like they're doing right now. Yeah. But I think that a lot of what I'm sharing right now does come from real life situations and what I know to be, true about real life. And I don't know, Ed, if you want to add anything on that side of it.
Like you said, you can apply those principles to real life. Yeah. Not even training, not racing. I think of even back when I was a teacher, there were days that I loved getting up and knowing that I was going to go teach some youngsters all day. And then there are other days where I'm like, I do not want to teach second grade reading today. But there's just you do it, right? You get up, you do it, and some days are better than others. And, for the greater purpose of, bringing home money, to provide for your family, for in your case, or others that are training, to feel prepared when you are at that start line. So Yeah, I think, it just showing up is half the battle, right? Like that's the we can all do that. Like we can all just show up, and I found myself doing that a lot where, when I was teaching, there were moments of that season of life where, the bills it was hard to pay the bills. And, I dreaded the summer. Usually when you go into teaching, because you're like, I got a couple months off, I can, go hang out at the beach or whatever. That's what a lot of people think that teachers do, I guess. But, some get to do that. But, I always dreaded the end of the school year because I knew I got to teach summer school. I gotta find a summer school job. I gotta switch gears and crank out 6 weeks of summer school because, it just didn't quite pay the bills throughout the whole year. And I knew that come July, we were going to be struggling. So, so, there were times I didn't want to do that, and it was hard that, but I did it anyways because I knew that I had to show up. I had to show up for my family. I had to show up for me because I didn't know what was next for me. I didn't know, if I was going to connect with the principal at this other summer school, site that was going to offer me a job later on. You just don't know when you're in that moment. So you just kind of keep showing up and kind of keep your eyes open to see what is next for you, as you're always working towards being better, right? Being a better person, being a better teacher, being a better athlete, whatever it is. You work through those hard moments knowing that you're working towards something even though you might not know what that is, right? So yeah, I do like what you were saying, how when you had a tempo workout and the kids were tough that day and I get home and you're like, I just can't do that. So you go out and you just adjust it and you do an hour run instead. I was just listening to an interview with Tony Horton, the P90X guy. He's like in his mid 50s, maybe late 50s now. And the interview asked him, said, how do you keep in such good shape? He's in great shape still.
Yeah. How
do you keep in great shape? What's your secret? He goes, consistency. He's like, you just show up. And that was what I liked about that program when I was involved in that, because he would always say when you push play, he says, man, half the battle is just push and play. You got here, you are here. Now let's move some weights, or let's, follow along. Like you got here. Like that was the biggest thing that you had to do, and you're here. You made it here, right? So I think that is such a good word for all of us, and regardless of what we're doing, if it's training for a 100-mile race, if it's training for that 5K, or if it's in a rough job and rough situation, like you're showing up. You show up, you find out, hey, I made it here. I'm going to make the best of what I can and what I'm going to do right now, and see what happens after that. And like you said, after getting outside and running, you always feel better. You just, because you showed up and you did something. So, yeah. Yeah,
I love that. I think there's a lot of the consistency is huge. I mean, that's how you achieve every goal. You have to consistently work at it. And the thing is that some days you are going to be allotted only 20 minutes to work toward that goal. Other days you will have 3 or 4 hours. But the important aspect in all that is that every day you're doing something. And it's easy to get caught up in, whether it's like perfectionism. Well, if I can't hit this workout exactly as it says for the exact duration that I know that I should be doing this, like I'm just not doing it all, or you just continue to spiral and just always beating yourself up, then you're just miserable in this program, because every time you don't meet that workout, you beat yourself up. And that's also a dangerous place to be in, because then you lose the joy.
Yeah.
You lose the joy in what you're doing. You miss out on the blessings of what you're doing and the opportunity and the ability that you have. And I think that everything we do, it does start with our mental state. And that is one of my favorite things to talk about. For as much physical activity that I do, and for as much time that I spend on that, the vast majority of what I do, it starts with, as soon as I get out of bed, like what I'm thinking. And that mindset that I have, it propels me through the day. I have to think through everything. And I think this is so often something that we overlook, because it's also easy to get up and we focus on like how we're feeling physically. It's like, oh gosh, my quads are so sore, or like I shouldn't have eaten that last night, or man, I've missed the last 3 workouts. This is going to feel terrible. And it's disciplining. You have to discipline your mind to think about just the goal. Okay, I'm getting up and I have a goal in 3 weeks and I want to achieve that goal. I want to do the best I can. This is like I have now, that's all I have. And that is, so you can come up with like 40 different mantras if you want that you run through. And I know a lot of different mantras, they resonate with people. Different morning routines resonate with people. That kind of helps them get out the door. But the truth is, we keep coming back to just that mindset. It starts in your mind. You could be a really fit, healthy person, but if you don't have the right focus and the right perspective, you can miss a lot of days of training and a lot of belief in yourself, or even going after goals, because either of distraction or fear or anxiety, or just lacking that self-belief. I mean, it's going to start with what you believe about yourself in your mind. And so I want to encourage our listeners that aren't even doing a running program right now. This is, as you were saying, Eddie, this applies to career. It applies to relationship. The truth is, life is hard, and we will all hit rough patches, whether in a relationship or in a job, in a training season, or just from day to day. And disciplining ourselves to focus on what is good and what is true in the midst of all of that is really powerful. And, all of us can probably remember being in a tough situation, or let's just say like in a tough race, where we let the obstacle consume us. And we let that, kind of fog up the goal that we had. And I've heard that story countless times, where you can be so disappointed in what the time is, or, maybe you're throwing up your nutrition and you drop out of the race, and then like an hour later, you actually feel fine. You've now had like kind of time to think about what happened, and then you're just filled with all this regret. And I think this even happens, at start lines of races, where people will kind of bring themselves to the start line, and they stand on the start and they start getting afraid and they start panicking. And a part of that is, man, I wish I would have trained better for this. I wish I would have committed. I wish I would have done a little bit more. I could have been more prepared. And that's a lesson that we all learn.
Yep.
I mean, sometimes that's what it takes for your next race to be better.
Yeah.
Is, wow, I'm never going to put my body through that again on that little of training. Like, I want to do this right. Like, and I think that's how we learn things as kids too. Like sometimes the experience is the great teacher, but sometimes the great teacher is learning from others, and watching and observing and studying what has worked for other people, so that we don't make those same mistakes. But I can't express enough how important it is that, in order to stay consistent, you have to focus on the goal of keeping that at the forefront, and not so much, how you are feelings. I mean, feelings and emotions are fleeting, and they change from day to day. And, I've said this many times, if I trained only when I felt good, I'd probably only train like a few days a week.
Yeah.
It's easy, especially for those of you that have families and careers, and you're also trying to train for this marathon. It's very easy to feel tired. I mean, we can all identify with that. If you're in college and you're taking 18 units and you're working part-time, and you're trying to juggle all these things and learn how to be an adult and live independently, it's very easy to feel tired and overwhelmed. And you're not alone in that. But there is something to be said that in the midst of all of that, you lace up your shoes and you walk outside and you show up for yourself. And how great to be at the start line and looking back on your training or the previous 4 months or 6 months and tell yourself, like, that was not an easy journey. But man, like, I'm so proud to be standing here on the start line. And that's regardless of how the race goes, but like, you deserve to be proud of yourself and you deserve to put the work in. But don't be deceived that it's going to be smooth and easy. And, I think social media sometimes does just a terrible job at fogging all of that up.
Yeah.
You might follow athletes or fitness influencers that it just seems like every single post, it's great lighting and they look so strong and the muscles are popping and they look so fast and they look great in their workout gear and they're running in beautiful places. And it's just boom, 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 boom. But we have to separate what is real about our life and what is just curated content. Live a real life. Go after what is real and what's true to you. And when you do that, you're going to find that it is not like social media. It's not like these moments and these 60-second, fragments of time. And, I think that building a strong mind it's hard because we realize that the only way that we are going to get strong is by standing in a storm, is by climbing up the mountain.
Yeah.
It's, going and embracing what is difficult and uncomfortable and working through that. This episode of Choose Strong is brought to you by Manukora Honey. And if you have been a listener for any stretch of time, you know how much Eddie and I love honey. So we are very excited about this one. It is getting colder. It is time to think about presents for the people you love, and the miracle of nature just fell on my lap at the perfect time. And that's a rare super honey that is 100% natural and has some unique properties. Manukora makes Manuka honey, a single origin honey that comes from New Zealand, where the bees only feed on the nectar of the Manuka tea tree, making honey that is pure, rich, and complex with a creamier texture that is on a completely different level from the normal honey you find at the supermarket. You can use it as you would any other honey, but what puts the super in Manuka honey is that it's super rich in antioxidants and prebiotics 3 times more compared to regular honey. On top of that, it contains an antibacterial compound called MGO that can be found exclusively in Manuka honey. The bottom line is that these nutrients really support your optimal immune and digestive health, and it's delicious. This is the perfect way to treat myself with something that is going to keep me strong through the colder months, and the perfect gift for the people I love to keep them sweet and healthy too. The 850 plus honey has this creamy caramel texture that melts in your mouth and is unlike anything I've ever tried. I can grab a spoonful out of a jar, which I've been known to do many a times. I can put it in my favorite beverage or squeeze some honey out on some toast or oatmeal. I personally like honey peanut butter sandwiches. So delicious. If you head to manukora.com/Sally, you can get $25 off their starter kit, which comes with the MGO 850 plus Manuka honey, a free travel pack honey stick, a free wooden spoon, and also a free guidebook. It's the perfect gift for a loved one during this season. Now, I love the jar and squeeze bottle, but the extra pack of compostable honey sticks is perfect for whenever you're on the go. You can bring them with you when you're traveling or if you need a quick snack running errands, and they're the perfect energy boost if you're out for a run or at the gym, especially in this time of year. That's MANUKORA ukora.com/Sally to get $25 off your starter kit. This is just the ultimate honey. Indulge and try some honey with superpowers from Manukora.
I remember training for the marathon this past year. I remember there was a few times that, I was supposed to go out for like a 13-mile run at night, or just some of these like bigger mileage that usually in the past it would like I'd really prep myself for a Saturday to do it. But now it's like you're in this marathon prep and you're like supposed to go and do this at, today you got to do 13 miles, tomorrow you're doing 8, and then the next day you're doing 15, whatever. So there's these moments where these bigger mileages would come up and I would have to go out and do it. And that was the last thing I wanted to do. Like I did not want to go out and do that. Like I didn't want to do it. But I remember a couple times doing it, finishing it and being like stoked that it was over with. And I remember getting to the start line, like you said, and, hoping you think back to all these moments of your training that you can hang your hat on and be like, yes, I'm prepared. I'm stoked because I did these, workouts. And so I remember standing on the start line and thinking back like, okay, I got 26 miles ahead of me. And I'm going to think back to the workouts that like, all right, that's going to give me some confidence. And I remember literally only having like 2 or 3 on my hand. I'm like, well, I did that one night and I did this that Saturday, and crap, that was like all that I like have, which were cool. But then it's like, there were so many moments where in that prep that, I know I had some like injury issues, but there were so many moments where I did go and rely on the feelings of, I don't want to do it, so I didn't. And then getting to the start line, I wish I had more moments of like, I should have sucked it up. I should have went out for that 8-mile run at night when I didn't want to. And instead I sat down and pushed it off till tomorrow. I shouldn't have done that because I didn't feel as confident on that start line. And I didn't feel as prepped on that start line as I wanted to, But yeah.
And yet you still got it done. I think that's, I know your journey was unique too, because yes, you were working through some nerve issues and pretty much some pain. Yeah. And I think that's also something that a lot of listeners connected with, There are just some people that get those chronic injuries no matter what they do. Every time they build up to a race, there's always something, and it can be very, very frustrating. And I always encourage like why it is so important that you embrace your own unique journey and not what you think it's supposed to be like. But, what I saw in your build up and even after you finish was that's the foundation now. Like that's your first experience, and you'll never be the same if you decide to sign up for an endurance event again, right? Because you learned so much. You learned so much in the training. You learned a lot about your body and and then on race day, what you experience. And, through all that you finished. And I think that what is so healthy for everyone, regardless of what the goal is that when you step forth to achieve something and maybe it doesn't go quite as planned or how you hoped it would be, there is a lot in there that you should unpack. That you should go back and realize like, okay, I can get better here. I can do this different. Next time I do this, I'm going to try this. And the truth is that is what we are supposed to do for our entire life. Yep. There's nothing that we embark on that we're supposed to be perfect at right away. And as hard as it is to hear, our lives aren't supposed to be perfect. On the flip side, it's a lot about how you respond to everything that either happens to you or that you pursue. That we all get surprises in our life, but we're looking at how we respond to everything. And, that's where the great stories come, and that's how we grow, and that's how we are able to be honest with ourselves too. You know, we put ourselves into these situations, we try, maybe the training, doesn't pan out the way that we had hoped it would. And let's be real here, Ed. I mean, you know, when you're raising a family and you're working and then you're like, dude, I'm going to do this half marathon. When we're sitting down to fill out that registration form, there's a lot of like very basic things that are going through our mind when we're thinking of doing a race. A lot of times we focus on the race.
Yeah.
We think of that day.
Yeah.
We think of like standing on the start with our friends and the music and the excitement and like the shirt we're going to get in the expo and like, yeah, that medal and like, and we envision ourselves just feeling good. Like it's hard to connect with the mile by mile and the breakdown of our body and the push and the exhaustion when you're signing up for something. That's not what we think about. And I think that many times that's a good thing, because that's what keeps us coming back to the registration form and hitting submit, right?
Yeah.
Is we desire so much to have this experience that in our mind is amazing. And I believe the most amazing part of any race is the training. I think it's because you learn so much about yourself.
Yep.
And there's a lot of grace in training, a lot of modifications, and a lot of growth. And when you get to the finish line of a race, regardless of how it goes, you do think about your training. And I think that is what life is in all aspects. We're constantly training. We're constantly training to be better, to be the best version of ourselves. You know, maybe it's training how to do something in a better way, or in a more efficient way. But you know, I think of your marathon, and I loved being here for it and having that front row seat to it. But I'm like, wow, you went through a whole gamut of emotions and feelings, physically, mentally. You know, you finish, but I just get excited about whenever you race again, because you've grown. You know, you've grown as an athlete. You have a lot more knowledge. The ideas and imaginations that you had about the marathon in your mind and what you didn't know to expect, like they're cemented now. And so, you know, going back to our original point here about staying consistent, about showing up for yourself daily, you know, regardless of the season, I think it's good to have like a variety of tools in your back pocket that you can kind of run through like very quickly, to help you stay consistent and to help you even battle the doubt and not showing up. And that's some of them. Some of them is like, dude, I'm showing up because I don't want to feel the way that I did last time.
Yeah.
Like, I hate how I felt in that race. So like, even though like I'm tired right now, I'm getting out there because I need to put the miles in.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk a little bit about the importance of accountability in this, where you know that it's hard for you. It's hard for you to get out there. Maybe you just had a week that was just rough and you're like not feeling good. You missed a bunch of workouts and you know you should get up to talk a little bit about the importance of accountability when it comes to that, to motivate you when it's tough. And I'm not saying like scrolling through social media, like, oh, they're all like, you know, doing like maybe some specific accountability things maybe that you've used in the past that's helped you. I don't know if you can speak to that. Yeah,
I should say there's a little caveat in scrolling through social media, because I think there's also a lot of positives in it. I mean, I've had moments, especially when I get lonely in my training, and I will look up like my friends' accounts, and whether it's like, oh, cool, like they put in this many miles today, or like they took a picture on a summit, it just gets me like fired up. I get excited, or I follow races, like, you know, like if I'm hitting a low in training, it's like super fun for me to follow a race, and that gets me fired up too. So there is positives in social media as far as like, but I think that we have always should visit social media with a purpose. Like, okay, I'm going on here. Like I need, like, I want to see beautiful pictures and see what my friends are doing. And like,
yeah, it's
okay,
a little
that got me
different,
fired up.
a little different than comparing, right? Like
Yeah.
you're like, wow, that guy killed it on that. I can never do that. Like
Yeah.
that's different.
And we all struggle with different things. I am aware of that too. I mean, you know, jealousy is not like, that isn't like a big thing in my life that I have struggled with. Whereas I do have friends who've shared that with me. Like I struggle so much with jealousy and comparing. And, you know, I have a lot of struggles in my life that isn't one of them. And so I think it is a little bit easier for me to visit social media and see what everyone's doing. I get excited. Like you know, like I love cheering for my competitors, and a lot of my competitors are my friends. Like I genuinely am so excited, you know, for them. And I think that's also helped me. Like, I think it's healthy for us to celebrate each other because, you know, we're all on a unique journey and we all have our ups and downs. And I think this sport is so humbling. So it doesn't matter if you're in the best in the world, like, you get humbled by this sport, whether in training or trying to set a FKT, or, you know, whether it's Western States or UTMB, some of the biggest races in the world. Like, we've seen the best athletes in the world not do well in all those things, but then also set records and historical moments. And it's, so I think being in the sport for so long, it's very easy for me just to celebrate people. I do enjoy that. That's maybe just a part of me, but, you know, I definitely have, I have other struggles and things that I have to work through. And so, you know, I think that community and accountability is important. And whether that's with a coach, you know, when I hired Jason Coop as my coach for Western States, I mean, I didn't really need him writing me a training plan. Like, let's be honest. Like, the biggest thing I needed was like that accountability and the mentorship and the guidance and someone to talk to, because I had a lot of doubt going in, and I had a lot of low points in my training where I physically just did not feel good. And it was great having a coach to kind of talk me through that. And, you know, with someone with a wealth of experience, it's like, well, you know, it's kind of take a look at like what you've done to your body in the past, like 6 months, Sally. Like, so trying to come back and race super hard it's going to be challenging, but let's see the best that we can do, you know? So I think that for me, that was huge. Like, that was, I always thought about like the meeting that I was going to have with him and like what I wanted to talk about. And like, so giving my best every day. I loved having him, knowing that he was watching all of, you know, as soon as the workout was uploaded, he was analyzing, you know, he's looking at all the analytics, and that was very helpful for me. Yeah. I think I'm very blessed, and I recognize this, like having you in the house up close. Like, you've always been very encouraging to me, because I definitely had some days, you know, especially on rainy days too, where I was just like, like I don't want to go do 18 miles down by the coast with like a 12-mile hard tempo inside, you know. And then I'm like, champions don't sit on the couch during this weather. And get out there. And you would say that, and it was like we'd have a good laugh about it, but I always appreciate that too, because I'm like, you know, especially for someone that's always like crewing me and being there, I think about like, you know, I can't complain if I didn't put the work in. You know, you can't, like, if things don't go your way, it's like, hey, also you didn't train, like, you know, and I have you up close, like, that knows everything that I do. So I do have that in-home accountability. I like to, you know, and having done online coaching for over a decade, it was, you know, I had a lot of athletes just in a very vulnerable way share. They're like, I don't have anybody, you know, like, I actually don't live in a town that has a lot of runners, or I sincerely don't know ultra runners. I don't have the time frame in which I can meet up with a run group, or I'm not confident in my fitness, so I don't run with people. I mean, the very real topics that I think this is why I love the Choose Strong Strava group. I just want to encourage all our listeners, get on there. And you do not need to, if you want to create kind of like an alias profile. No, not everyone likes Strava. I know not everyone likes Facebook. So I always say just create it just to be there. You don't have to put any personal things. You can make your profile private. But like, I think sometimes it's just encouraging to see thousands of people doing all types of workouts.
Yeah.
You know, like someone's going to upload a workout they did 20 minutes on the ski erg. Someone else is doing Pilates, and someone went for an hour hike with their friends. And yeah, and you have the random guy that just ran 38 miles in the mountains by himself. Like, it's just, I think stuff like that can, you know, scroll through that and give a nice word of encouragement, give someone kudos, like be inspired to know that you're not alone in your training, but also like everyone's working on something else, but collectively we're all just trying to get better.
Yeah, totally.
And, you know, some of the titles are going to inspire you in odd ways. Like you might be inspired by the person's like, dude, I had the roughest day ever. So I ran the slowest 4 miles on the planet, you know, and you're like, dude, so did I.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
and I didn't run. And,
Yeah.
but now I'm going to because you did. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've gotten messages like that where people they'll watch a reel of me running. They're like, dude, I'm ready to run through a wall now. And it's like, that's awesome. Like I've watched stuff like that too, where I just get like so fired up to go hit the weights hard or just like get out on the trails. Cause I'm like, yeah, like we're all trying to get better. But, yeah, I think just going back to my original point, you have to go into it with the expectation that it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, especially in our youth, we fantasize and we imagine and we desire for things to be great all the time.
Yeah.
And we want it to be like a box office film. We want it to be successful. We want it to feel good. Nobody likes being uncomfortable. You know, it's that's a really big topic that I'm constantly, you know, sharing about is, you know, you look at some of these documentaries that we did last year and it was like, yeah, I mean, on full public display, like completely uncomfortable, in challenging situations the whole time. I did not enjoy that, you know, but the way in which I got to the finish line every single time was 100% my mindset.
Yep.
That was it. It wasn't like it changed. It wasn't like I eventually felt better. I was progressively worse as the miles clicked off and with every race. And I think that's something that, gosh, it's crazy to think that it hasn't even been a year.
I know.
Since I did those 4 200-mile races. But, you know, I still remember so vividly driving out to Moab 240 and just having this chat with you, Eddie, about how terrible I was feeling. And I was very tired. You know, and I also had to own, you know, I took a lot of responsibility for the fact that I was traveling every couple days.
Yeah.
Like all over the world. Like
Yeah.
I finished, you know, Bigfoot up in Washington, and 2 days later I was at Leadville. I came home from Leadville. 3 days later I was in France. I was there for like 5 days. I came home from that. I actually flew straight from France to Colorado for Mackenzie's recruiting trip. Came home from that for like 4 days and then flew to Oregon for her recruiting trip. And then we came home and we drove to Moab.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, I didn't have, you know, and I can share a lot of this now, but it's like, I didn't have ideal recovery. I didn't have ideal buildup. I was completely like burnt out and exhausted and, you know, had told Eddie, like, you know, this was the race that secretly I was hoping to win. I think that it suited my strengths. And then we arrive and I find out they added 13 miles to the course. Like I couldn't even, like I could not believe it. It was like 13 miles and over 3,000 feet of climbing. And already the Grand Slam was just like, in some ways really challenging for me. I mean, they had added, you know, miles onto Tahoe, which they took away this year, thankfully. And then Tahoe, you know, after Bigfoot was 17 days after Tahoe. I mean, there will never be a Grand Slam opportunity like that for anyone again.
Yeah.
Like I ran like such a unique year of the 200s. And on some levels, it really frustrated me because as a competitor, I wanted to have some good advantages and like the same courses that everyone else had. And those will never happen again. So, you know, I was going in with so many mixed feelings, you know, like I'm exhausted. They're adding miles, like all these races are on top of each other. I don't feel good. My feet are shredded. I mean, I went into that race with just gnarly nerve pain in my feet.
Yeah.
And so I think that, you know, this idea of like, expect it to be hard is so powerful.
Yep.
I didn't stand on that start line at Moab and think like, this is going to be the race where I feel the strongest. This is going to be where I'm going to be my best. I think there's even a quote in the film where I say like, you can throw whatever you want at me. I'm ready for it. Because I've experienced all of it.
Yeah.
I've experienced all the pain and the discomfort and every surprising thing that you can think of. Bring it on.
Yeah.
I'm ready. And I think that is more of the focus that we need to embrace is I want this training to reflect a very well carved out athlete who's ready for anything. You know, if my training just reflects like, dude, every day was sunshine, cool weather, and my body felt amazing and strong and I didn't have any struggles whatsoever. I mean, what are you actually carving into?
Yeah.
You know, are you really going to be ready for race day? Because you're not supposed to run the same way you do in training and race day. Race day, you empty yourself completely. You get the best out of yourself. And guess what? If you get the best out of yourself, it's going to hurt. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to be exhausted. And you're going to have some demons to fight in your mind every now and then too, because it's that hard. And I think that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, I like that. Expect it to be hard because you know that it's going to be hard at some point. And if you expect it, right? So if you're just always looking for that moment that it's going to be difficult in a race and you're expecting these things and then the surprise comes that it's like easy, you're like, oh, wow, this is awesome. Like I was not expecting this. Like this is easy, you know, because you're always anticipating that hard that's coming, you
Exactly.
know. That's a good outlook, good mindset.
Well, that's the training benefit that you can lean into on those days that you are feeling tired. Remember that on race day, you'll feel tired, especially for those of you that are training for an ultra. Remember, you're running, depending on the distance, you might be running through the night. You might be starting at 5 a.m. Do you really know what it feels like to run for 8, 9, 10, 11, 32 hours? Like, think about how tired that you are going to be. How have you trained your brain to respond to tiredness? I mean, let's be honest, we're all tired. And sometimes it is just a mental tiredness. It's tired from life and work and just hard days. But the truth is we actually are well equipped. We are very well equipped to handle that. We are very well equipped to continue moving forward when life feels hard and things feel heavy and we don't want to show up. Go surprise yourself. I think that's like one of the best feelings. I remember when you did one of those late night double-digit runs and Mackenzie rode her bike next to you and you came home and that was like why you were smiling so big.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, I didn't want to do it, but like the joy you had not only in completing it, but it was like you had Mackenzie by your side and you guys were laughing and you have that memory for the rest of your life. It's like, go do that. Go cement a memory into your mind of when you push through that tiredness and that lack of motivation. And when you didn't believe in yourself, go show yourself who you are. And, you know, you're not going to have a lot of people in your life to do that. You might have one or two people in your entire life that are constantly rooting for you. That's the truth. Don't be deceived to think that even some of the most successful people in whatever industry they're in, that they have hundreds of people that are so supportive and hoping for their well-being and what is best for them. It's not true. It's a very, very, very small circle. And, you know, I'm very grateful to have you is that person, Eddie. But man, if we rely so heavily on external factors to motivate us, or have this expectation that because someone is our best friend or is our sister, that they're just going to be thinking about our goals and checking in and reminding us to keep going every single day, you're going to be really disappointed. Your goals need to be personal to you. It's your life and no one can live it for you. It's your life and your story to write. And when all is said and done, you are responsible for your life, no one else. Those that choose to stand next to you in the storm, in the dark times, the hard times, and do encourage you to keep going, man, they are gold. Hold them close, and you remind them of that. That's, for those of you that have no one, that's one of the reasons why Eddie and I started this podcast. And it's why the root of all the content we put out is to encourage you and to remind you of how strong you are. Because I know for me personally, I had a lot of days in my younger years, especially if you read my book, where I just felt so alone and didn't really know the purpose of continuing on with life. And so I think it's important that you understand, one, you are not alone and you are precious and your goals are precious. And whether you're training for a 5K, you're training to get that college degree, you're trying to move up in the business world or start a family, or work on that relationship, just embrace right now that it will not be easy, and that the setbacks that come, know that when you choose to work through them, you absolutely will be a better version of yourself when all is said and done. Because, the thing is, you can't walk into a gym and just sit there and think you're going to get stronger. And I think sometimes we can be a little bit childish about our goals. We think I'm just surrounded by weights, or I'm scrolling through fitness and running. I follow all of it. It doesn't matter. You have to put your hand on that weight, and you have to lift it. And you'll be really, really surprised when you thought you could lift a heavier weight, and that you have to walk all the way down that rack and pick up the lightest weight. And that's where you're going to start. You're going to start at the lightest weight, and you're going to keep on coming back. And the more that you lift, it's a really boring thing to do. It's just lifting it and putting it back down. But the more you do it, that's actually how you get stronger. And it's not easy. The showing up and lifting, the showing up and running, the showing up and studying, the showing up and having the hard conversation. It's the only way there's going to be change. And that's how, at the end of the day, when I look at what I'm doing, there isn't no magic formula. I get asked this all the time. It's a choice every single day. And it starts in my brain. It's not because I'm just wildly physically gifted. It's just a choice. And the more you do something, the more it becomes who you are and a part of who you are, and becomes naturally who you are, and it gets carved right into you. So,
Sal, that is a great word today. That is a good podcast episode. I think it's very fitting for a lot of people, and it'll be very encouraging. So I don't know if you have anything else to add, but why don't you, you can either add something or you can take us out. Because
well, we got a lot of people still running. We have some people that are still driving, washing dishes right now.
Wash those things. Yeah. Let's go.
I always like to, every now and then I do bring this up, but I think it is very important that at some point this week, and who knows, maybe right after this podcast is done, that you allow yourself to sit with yourself and your thoughts. I love the journal, but you can use notes in your app too, especially if you're at a trailhead. I've been known to stop on a trailhead and whip out that notes app and take a few notes. There's something about you writing things, physically writing stuff down and seeing it on paper. And I think that's another way to stay in touch with what you're working toward. It is no surprise that we live in a very fast-paced world, and we're trying to keep track of a lot of things. I'm not even sure if our brains are supposed to process as much information that comes at us every single day. And so it is really easy for Friday to feel like Monday because you feel like that's how fast the week went by. Mm-hmm. You're like, wow, like I just started this weekend. I can't believe we're already entering the weekend. That being said, it's that easy to lose track of where you're going and what you're working on. So I want to encourage you today to take some time and look at the work that you've been doing. Look at the plans that you have and the work that you have planned for the future, and just check in with yourself. Are you doing a good job? How consistent are you? I think one of the most difficult things to embrace, and I know I've had to do this in my life, just throughout my life, is look at where patterns are. You know, I think if you find that you're always signing up for a race and you just can never make it past the 10-week training mark and it's a 16 or 20-week plan, you need to pause and look at, one, how many times have you done that? But two, where else in your life are you doing that? You know, many times how we do one thing is how we do everything. So when you can make small goals and you take baby steps into being consistent, it starts to bleed out into the rest of your life. Don't make it a goal just to be consistent in showing up for your run, but be consistent in every area of your life. And yeah, that isn't easy. But I think when we are honest with ourselves and we can kind of take a look at our journey and what it is that we're doing, how we're spending our time, that's an eye-opener. You know, how much time are you actually on your phone? How much time are you in front of the TV? Where are you giving your time? Because the truth is we all have, 24 hours in a day. And, Eddie and I have, we've hit heads on this many times because we will come with both of our to-do lists and they are just like overflowing. And it's like, okay, this is so unrealistic to try and tackle all of this. And Eddie's a lot better at it than I am, but he's just like, okay, how can we work together to achieve this? And, what are the most important things that we need to tackle today? And what is going to help us achieve this goal by the end of the week? So Eddie's way more structured and organized in his thinking than I am. But I think that's something that we can all do just in our everyday lives, whether it's like managing our kids' schedules, our work schedule, our study schedule, our training schedule. We all get the same hours in the day. And I think sometimes why we don't show up for ourselves is because we're not committing to that time. We let that time that we would have shown up to train get filled up by doing something that's mindless and something that doesn't serve us, something that doesn't help us grow. And I think that's, we all have those things. So easy to waste our time and not be mindful. But this goes back to, everything starts, mentally. What do you believe in yourself? What do you have planned for yourself? What are those goals? Are you focusing on them? Because when you are always focused on your goals, then when other things come in to distract you, you can very easily say like, hey, this doesn't help me reach that goal. Like I would love to like sit and watch Netflix for 4 hours, but like I have these 4 things that I need to do that are going to help me reach that goal in 2 weeks. And so Netflix needs to wait. And I'm not bashing sitting and watching TV. I mean, I know I like to do that, watch some Office reruns or whatever. But it's being mindful and purposeful about what you do. And if you're still running right now, well done. Mm-hmm. It's serving a purpose. Yeah. And you're gonna be stronger and better after it. So I think that's what I'm gonna close on. You deserve some time to pause. You deserve some evaluation, and you deserve to be reminded right now that you are capable and fully equipped with all the tools that you need to live a strong life. And I want to encourage you to keep choosing strong in all you do.